Guys, May 24th, 2024. Mark it on the calendars. That is the world premiere of In Unison, the movie that we have been working on. It's been in the editing stage for many months. We are finally on the rollout. So if you can make it, it is free. Don't have to pay. We just ask that you come in, check out the movie, check out some of the vendor stalls, maybe buy a t-shirt. Want to show up. Again, it is May 24th, 2024, Baltimore, Maryland, Checker Spot Brewing Company. We actually shot at their old location this time last year. But that is all I have. Enjoy the video.
So my girlfriend and I went to the movie theater a couple weeks ago, and we ended up seeing Civil War. I think I can say, without a doubt, is probably one of my favorite movies of the past few years. It's just so, I don't know, so raw and feels so, I don't know, like you really captured a piece of another reality. The characters themselves are so real and are so effortlessly entertaining and interesting. And it just goes to show you like what you can do when you have such a well developed story. Anyway, forgive me if I don't get all these details right. Kind of going based off memory for the most part. I have some notes of like key points but a lot of this is going off memory, like what scenes happened where. I have no fucking idea. But we start off in kind of this riot situation where citizens are trying to push past these blockades that the government has set up. This is where we first kind of see Lee, played by Kirsten Dunst, in action with her camera, getting right up close to what's going on. And it's crazy that even in such a crazy time that this is depicting, like the Western forces, which is California and Texas, I think, they teamed up, seceded from the US, and basically everything else in between, minus a couple, are the loyalist states or the liberal states, something like that. Remainder of the US government. The Western forces are kind of like a militia that's going in to take over. But even in this time, we don't attack press. And I think that's interesting, that even in the darkest of times, we allow the freedom of press. And it's, as Lee is kind of in the action, she comes across Jesse, who's played by Kaylee Spaney, this kind of new up-and-coming combat photojournalist. You know, still working on film, following basic photography techniques. She hasn't really found her style. She hasn't found her voice. And she's kind of looking to Lee. Not only was she actually a hero of hers, but she's looking to her as a mentor, a teacher, a person that's going to guide her finding her voice. And right away, she learns that this is not a place to fuck around. This is war. This is real shit. You can and probably will die. And as long as you understand that, you're all right. After the riot, Lee and Joel, who's her partner, kind of, I think he's a writer, not a photojournalist, just a normal journalist. They go back to a hotel where a lot of the press uses as kind of a place to lay low, and they are discussing their plan. And that is to go to DC to photograph and interview the President of the United States, what's left of them, the loyalist nation, who is kind of this authoritarian government now. So they end up telling Sammy, who is Lee's mentor, that they're going to be going to DC. And he's like, well, if you're going that far, you might as well drop me off in Charlottesville. Charlottesville is where the front lines of the battle is. And after a couple backs and forth, like, no, we're not fucking taking you, they break down like, all right, fine. Next morning, it turns out that Jesse convinced Joel to let her come along. Lee is obviously pissed. Sammy is like, hey, she's here, you know, might as well make the most of it. So they get going, and very early, like almost immediately, stop at a gas station to fuel up. They roll up to a couple guys with guns, big guns. And they're basically like, we're not doing business. You can't afford our business. And that's when Lee's like, all right, how about, she either said like 200 or 300, some hundred amount of dollars for some fuel. That's not going to cover it. Like you said, you cannot afford us. And she drops on him. Canadian. So apparently, in this world, the US dollar has dropped so significantly that apparently 200 Canadian, 300 Canadian is a shit ton of money. While this kind of negotiation is going on, Jessie peels off to the right side of the building, and she's followed by one of the guys with guns. And they roll up to an open Connex shipping container. At least I think it was. It was a shipping container or like a hut or some shit. There's two guys, two looters, hanging. One of the gas station owners with the gun is talking to Jessie, kind of intimidating her. She takes out her camera and she's about to take a photo, and she's like, I can't do it. Saying, oh, why don't I take your picture with the two guys? After the gas station, they get into a couple other altercations. They end up sleeping in like a parking lot in between some warehouses and shit. And there's a bunch of gunfire lighting up the sky. And like, all right, tomorrow we're going to go out, we're going to investigate that. But for now, try and get some sleep. Joel says something to Jessie like, don't expect to get any sleep. So if you do, it's just a nice surprise. In the morning, they go off, investigate the gunfire. It belongs to a militia group that's trying to take a building from the Loyalists. We get to see Jessie trying to... Oh, hi, buddy. Cat break. Oh, big stretch. This is when we get to see Jessie really start to try and find her voice. She's taking a little more risk, ducking out around corners, trying to get the shot. She is still a little hesitant, but, you know, she's getting there. I think from here, they ran into a small town, and we get some much-needed downtime from all the action. Going into a shop where we learn that basically everyone in this town is blissfully ignorant to the world around them, actively ignore the conflict going on, decide that they are not going to take part. It's really unsettling. When you're seeing it, we saw it in XD, so I felt like I was in this fucking movie. The kind of breath of fresh air that you'd normally get from a scene like this is kind of the opposite. You're kind of like, okay, what the fuck is going to go wrong here? And it is really just a nice moment. Lee and Jessie are trying on outfits. Jessie gets a really nice, like a candid photo of her laughing. And this is when I thought the whole story was gonna shift. I thought we were gonna go from Lee's journey to photograph the president to Jessie photographing Lee and finding her outlet as like a documentarian. It was a really cool moment, and I thought that's where we were gonna go. But instead, they're driving through this dirt road, massive fields, and they roll up on an old like Christmas parade, and they're locked down by a sniper. And there's two returning snipers in ghillie suits. Joel is asking them, "What side are you fighting on? You know, what's going on? Who are you shooting at?" And they're like, "Side? What do you mean side? We're trying to fucking survive out here. Fuck do you mean side?" And Jessie steps out of her comfort zone and gets a little closer to take the shot, putting herself at a crazy risk, but she's doing it for the art and for the story. So at this point, she's kind of annoyed because Jessie doesn't know what she's getting herself into. She respects her drive. So I think she kind of tells her, like, if you're going to do this, you need to understand that people are going to die. And shit's not all sunshine and rainbows. And if you fuck up, you're gone. Dead. Dunzo. And Jessie kind of hit her with the, when I die, you're going to take a photo of my dead body? And Lee was kind of like, yeah, probably. Which is, it's her job, no matter how fucked up it is. From here, they catch up with two other journalists from a hotel who overheard their conversation about going to DC. Ended up finding them on the road. One guy Tony and Jesse end up jumping cars like through the windows, and Jesse and the driver of the other car, Bohai, end up getting run off the road after Bohai books it down the fucking highway. And they're taken off the road by a militia who are dumping bodies, civilian bodies, into a giant hole. Lee and Joel walk up to him and they're like, "Hey man, these are our friends, these are colleagues, like we can talk about this." And the kind of leader of this militia group, played by Jesse Plemons, is like, "Oh, that's your friend? Okay." Gah! Shoots Bohai. Sets everyone into a panic, obviously. And he's asking him, "All right, where are you from?" And they're going one by one. Joel's like, "I'm from Florida." Like, "That's American. That's what I'm talking about." Don't remember where Lee is from. Might be Colorado, some shit. I don't know. And then he gets Tony. Tony's like, "I'm from Hong Kong." Hong Kong. So China. Bang. And that's when I was like, holy shit. Out of nowhere, Sammy fucking pulls up, runs two of these militiamen over with the fucking car. And then a third comes around and starts fucking shooting into the car as they're trying to drive away. And Sammy got hit. He's bleeding. And they get to a camp of the Western forces, and Sammy bleeds out in the car. Lee snaps a photo of his corpse, and a few minutes later, after looking at it, she deletes it because she's not sure she can, not to her friend, not to her mentor who taught her everything, she just couldn't do it. So she deletes the photo. And that's the first time we see her reject his life. And after that, they get word that the loyalist nation, the remaining United States, has basically retreated from the front lines. The White House is vulnerable, so they hightail it over there. Right outside the gates, there is this massive blockade where the loyalists and the Western forces are going at it. Lee ends up having a PTSD, just fucking overload, and she's locked, shell-shocked, essentially. She can barely fucking think straight. So this leaves Jesse to document everything that's happening. You know, she fucking nails it. She gets some amazing photos, crazy scenarios, ducking in and out of gunfire. The Western forces basically telling her, "Back the fuck off." She's like, "Nah, fam." Think a car barrels through the blockade. And they're like, "Oh, that's the beast. Fucking light that shit up." Thinking that it's the president. The door opens. I think the president's family gets out of the car. Gunned down. Immediately. And even before then, Lee was like, "That's not it." They hightail it to the White House. Some of the Western forces follow because they're like, some shit's going on. So they're inside the White House. They're making their way to the Oval Office, ducking in and out of the hall, dodging gunfire. The Western forces are pulling them, like moving them out of the way, you know, returning gunfire. You know, now that Lee's back in the zone, she is kind of trying to keep Jesse safe. At one point, Jesse jumps out into the hall right as someone's about to come out and shoot. And Lee jumps out there, gets in the way, or like pushes her down. Somehow Jesse ends up on her back with the camera. Right when Jesse snaps a photo, Lee gets shot. She goes down. And it's ironic that they had this conversation about Lee potentially taking a photo of Jesse's dead body. Unfortunately, the student outlived the master. After that, the Western forces and Jesse and Joel storm into the Oval Office, where they find President Ronald Swanson cowering in fear, pleading, "Do not kill me." Those were his final words were, "Do not let them kill me." Joel's like, "All right, I'll take that." Bang! Cut to credits. Over the credits, the photo that Jesse had taken of the dead president and the squad that killed him developed onto the screen. It's like shitty looking, but it's such a great photo. It's incredibly powerful, just like this fucking movie. Absolutely fucking incredible. A24 does a crazy job at low budget, fucking fantastic filmmaking. And A24 has a lot of qualities that I like to emulate in my own filmmaking. I'm absolutely stealing some things from this movie for Chapter 1, my first short film that I will be writing, directing, and probably fucking acting in at this point, because I hate casting. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Civil War. If you enjoy these kind of breakdowns, kind of off the cuff, this is very, last second. Let me know. I'll do some more. And without further ado, fuck off.